Hey, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today we've got one for you budget people out there, an absolute bare bones budget racer. I think it's about $109 maybe with a coupon code, check the description. But what this is, it's the new EACHINE WIZARD, but the 3-inch version, and I've really got to say, on first impressions, they have completely fixed some things up. The original WIZARD, which is right there, it had this stupid sort of plate that was bracing it as well as a carbon plate. That was a terrible idea. I really didn't like that. You can go watch that video up there, but right here, what we've got, this seems to be like everything we're asking for. I mean, a nice little camera, compact size, unibody solid carbon frame without any stress points, and some decent chunky motors on here. Well, what more could you ask for a little budget 3-inch racer? So what we're going to do the entire video. This one we're going to quickly stick it on the bench, go through some of its components, because look, it's pretty bare bones. You've got your stack, your motors, your camera, you're ready to roll. Nice little frame. And then the fun stuff, we'll take it out of the field, fly it around, and shout out to Granger as well, because he's going to be out there, and we'll get him to get on the sticks and see what he thinks of EACHINE's new little 3-inch budget option. Alright, let's do it. Put it on the bench and have some fun in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, here it is on the bench, little EACHINE 3-inch WIZARD. As a bit of an overview, what this is, it's a cheap budget buy and fly racer designed to be taken out of the box. It's got some okay gear inside in terms of the electronics. You can take it out, rip it around, and have a good time. Well, that's the plan anyway. Now, it's buy and fly, which means it's really set up for those people you don't have to build. And I know a lot of people out there, they want to get into drone racing, but they're not too sure how to put one together. So this is sort of the market that is going after. And probably the other big part, its price. So it is absolutely dirt cheap considering what you get. Now, if we go through some of the components, we'll start at the outside, work our way in. On the outside, you actually do get some tiny dowel cyclone props. So those little tri-blade cyclones are really a good choice. Cal loves them as well. Underneath that, I think we've got one of the stars of the show. And let me know what you think about the colors as well. But these are the EACHINE little branded motors, 1507s, and they're 4,100 kV. So I should flash a picture on the screen. And I can say they do go quite hard as well. Moving towards the middle, that's where we've got our 25 amp 4-in-1 ESC. On top of that, our F4 flight controller, Betaflight OSD, and our changeable VTX with smart audio options, all that sort of stuff. So that stuff is really pretty standard. And then towards the front, this really is a nice little addition. We've got our Foxeer camera, and I can say it is a very nice picture when you're flying around. And then, of course, a very minimalistic type of frame. It doesn't come with a receiver, so I had to put my own receiver in. That's why it's sort of jammed in there. It's not going to carry a GoPro or anything like that. The carbon is 3mm thick, and this is where actually I'm going to say you have a really nice design choice. Because it's solid carbon, that means it's going to hold up a little bit better in crashes, because it no longer has sort of a board across the top that sandwiches the arms together like in the 5-inch WIZARD version. I think what they've done here is what they needed to do. They just needed to have a base plate and have it as one complete piece. Really a smart little option, and it makes it quite light as well. So if we stick it on scales, it's coming in at about 140 grams, so very light, but definitely it has a lot of power as well. Now, if we move on, we can talk about the design of the thing, and look, it's extremely generic. It's kind of a copy of the floss frame in a 3-inch version. I like everything they've put in here. The design choices between the motors and the props is fantastic. The F4 flight controller, Betaflight OSD. Love the camera in the front, and for like the $110, whatever it is, the price link down below, I think they're doing an absolute stellar job, and it is going to help people get into the hobby. But that moves us on to the quality of the thing, and like all things, the cheaper you get, usually you're getting less and less quality. Now, the frame I'm not concerned about, the components I'm not concerned about. I think all that stuff is fine if you just want a racer that you can get out, get flying, and have some fun. But what they do need to fix is the tune on here. So the software side of things, I feel like is a little bit lacking. So my smart audio is not set up, out of the box. It doesn't do things that well when it comes to the OSD. The OSD voltage wasn't reading out correctly. That's not set up. So there's a few little options you're going to need to muck around in Betaflight to get set up in terms of your OSD and the functionality of the actual drone. And then the other part you're going to see, the tune isn't right out of the box as well. Now, look, I might have got an early version and things might have changed, and it is an easy procedure if you know what you're doing. You can go through and do a little bit of PID tuning, but as it currently stands, you're going to see the tune out of the box isn't the best, and it definitely does need a little bit of work. So for me, I found that was probably its biggest letdown, but we're going to see that in the flight characteristics. So overall, the pros and the cons, and because I've flown this, and you're going to see that in a little bit, we're doing it all in one video. Pros, absolutely love its price. I love its components. I love how it's gone, it's rectified, and it's got that one better base plate solution. That's great. I love its size, and it also has plenty of performance. So when you drop the throttle, this thing is absolutely a little mover, and especially because it's got so much power for such a little light craft. Now, its cons, really for me, it's all software side. I like most of the other things on here, but I am a little bit worried. I wish they'd fix the tune up a little bit better out of the box, and I wish they'd give you some better receiver options so you could ship it with a receiver. So all you had to do was bind it up, and also please fix your OSD and smart audio. So that part needs to be configured configured in Betaflight. So most of it is just the Betaflight configuration that needs a little bit of tweaking. But because that's all software, that doesn't mean that's not something you can do at home and muck around a little bit, and then you should be ready and off to the races. But that's it very quickly on the bench, because what I want to do now, let's go have some fun. We'll meet up with Granger and put this little bad boy through its paces and show you guys some of the DVR footage. So let's do that. Go have some fun in 3, 2, 1. Whoop. Rightio, out here in the field. I'm super pumped for this one because we've got the tiny little Eachine TS 3-inch bad boy, and look, when I first had this, I should have opened this earlier because it was on the bench for a little while before I opened the box, and like you saw in the part 1, it's got rid of that brace plate. It's just one solid carbon unibody base plate. There's not much to it, and it looks like it should be a little rocket. So what we're going to do, we're going to rip it around here, show you some DVR, and also hand it over to Granger to see what he thinks. But and for $100 or $110, I think we're going to be in for a pleasant surprise. But let's put it on, put a battery on, and find out how it goes. Okie dokie. Alrighty, so here we are with some DVR, and the first thing I want to mention, look how crisp this camera looks. So for a budget racer, it's absolutely, and we're on 25 milliwatts as well, so that's why when we're going behind some of the thicker trees, it's dropping out a little bit, but the camera looks beautiful. I can't understand how they can get that sort of price in such a, like a premium sort of looking camera in such a budget racer. I think that's fantastic, because if you can't see, you can't fly. Having a good camera does make a good difference, and I really like the one that's in here. Now, the next thing that bugs me actually though, we did get some oscillations as well, especially around the higher end of the throttle. That definitely needs to be tuned out. It took away from the experience a little bit. It wasn't terrible, but it didn't make it amazing on the stick. So there you can see we're doing it over and under, but the OSD is not working. So if you look down below, it tells you battery voltage 0. You've only got a timer, and it doesn't really help you whatsoever. So I really think they need to fix that. I wasn't a big fan. So that takes a little bit in the programming, and they need to fix up the smart audio. So that part's frustrating, but out of the box, this is sort of what it comes like. Now you can see right there, that's doing a little bit of a power loop. It does go back quite a long way, so it does have plenty of poke, and I think in a second I give it a bit of a full punch, and you'll see for a little tiny little craft, it's definitely much quicker than I guess what we're used to, and it probably would fly more than a beginner can sort of handle. So right here, look, it's definitely got some speed, so don't think just because it's a budget racer it doesn't go fast. It also doesn't carry a GoPro as well. It's just a little rocket that zips around. It's very easy to fly and maneuver through small spaces, but if you're a beginner and you've only got $100 to spend and you are going to get one of these, I'm going to tell you, you will need to do a little bit of PID tuning or a little bit of work, because straight out of the box I didn't feel like it had the best tune, and they needed to fix up some of that things on the software side. Now, of course, you can do a little bit of back row as well. I think I'm trying to do an inverted yaw spin or something right there. And look, whether you're doing racing, inverted yaw spins, you just want a bit of a fun for a budget drone, I definitely think, you know, have a think about it if you can get it at a cheap enough price. So normally, we've just got Granger here today. Normally hand it over to Crash Test Cal as well. Hit it with the speed gun. We're actually probably away in China when you're watching this video, actually. So we will get him back on the sticks, though, at some later point. And Cal's going to be testing this as well once we're back in the country and we get a little bit more time. But what we should do, let's hand it over to Granger, see what he thinks about it as well, because he's right into the racing and he usually flies the premium stuff, so it's not very often that he ever really touches some of these budget drones, so it'll be interesting to see what he thinks. Rightio, Granger, so what we've got here, little Eachine TS, what do you reckon?
I think it looks great. I like the unibody, and it's very thick, and I don't think you'll be breaking this, but I guess we'll see.
Alright, and you don't normally like cheap drones, do you?
No, so, not a massive fan. So,
yeah, so this is about $100, I think. So let's find out. Ready to put a pack on it, see how it goes?
I'm willing to give this a test because I quite like the look of it. Alright,
let's go.
Let's try it.
Rightio, Granger, how's it going? In the air, on the sticks.
I'm not a massive fan of it. Right now it's feeling quite average.
Why? What makes you say that?
Because the tune is not the best. It has a lot of oscillation at the top end. You can tune that out, obviously, so I think it would be a better quad if you tune that out. The camera's quite nice. I like the camera on this. They've definitely chosen a good camera for that.
What do you think for about the $100 range?
For $100, that's pretty cheap, and I don't think you can go wrong for $100. I would, if this is all I could afford, I would get this.
So you reckon you could still have a good time on this?
You could definitely have a good time with this. And have a few of these up in the air with your mates. Nice and cheap. If you smash one, parts aren't going to be too expensive to replace. And the main thing is, I'm flying it and it works and it's cheap. And sometimes you don't get that with cheap things. So you can't really go wrong with this, I reckon. But the tune can be fixed and needs to be fixed to have a bit more of an enjoyable experience. There's quite a lot of power in this, and it's easy to do tricks. Definitely feels like more of a 5-inch than they would have felt back in the day. And I feel like if this had a good tune, I could push it a lot better. For the $100 mark, this is a great quad, but definitely isn't the best quad compared to something like the XJB or the Korea Titty.
All right, nice. Thanks, Granger. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the middle? I know you're kind of flying. What's that? In the middle. Okay, no worries. Thanks. Where's your? I don't know how you did that and kept flying. You can't see your battery on the screen. I found.
Yeah. Why is that?
They need to fix that for sure.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks, Granger.
No worries.
Alrighty, there it is. There's my review of Eachine's new 3-inch Wizard, and overall, I really do like this drone. I think for the money, they're doing a great job, the components you get in here, but it is not without some small pitfalls that, depending on your level of your competency with beta flight and all that sort of stuff, that's where it's not super beginner friendly. So I do think it has the potential to fly well. I love the components, everything they've got in here, the OSD, in terms of that it can do that. The camera is really nice. All the components are top notch. I love the little frame, but it just doesn't, it needs a little bit on the software side of things. So the OSD, you know, these might be early versions that I've got, but they need to be configured a little bit better, set up a little bit better for us pilots, especially if you just want something you can take out of the box. And the other part that bugged me, the tune wasn't the best as well. Oh, and also make sure everything's tightened down, but the tune needed a little bit of work as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, if you're gonna get one of these, I think for the price, they're almost unbeatable in terms of the 3-inch market. That performs quite nicely. You don't have to do anything, it's already built up, but you are gonna need to do a little bit of PID tuning and muck around on the OSD a little bit. So your mileage may vary. That might take you 2 minutes on the computer, or if you're brand new, it might take you a day or two of head scratching to figure out what is doing what. Anyway, I'd love to know, what do you guys think? I'm super happy that they've actually changed the base plate, because that's all I wanted. I really didn't like that sort of fracture part in that one. This one is a much better design. On that, subscribe for more FPV related Eachine Wizard TS125 3-inch action. And as always, happy flying. Oh, and another thing too, let me know, do you like this sort of camo look on the bottom, or would you prefer it if they just made it even cheaper again and didn't have that decal on there? So I don't know. Anyway, happy flying. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.